Straight ahead on the 6 o'clock news, STEIN'S Market in Kellogg is closing their doors today. What's going to happen to the Osborne branch? Then a crash on I-90 that left a rental truck flipped over on its side. But first, a documentary about prostitution in Wallace is set to air next weekend. We have what to expect. I'm John Webb, and the news at 6 begins right now.
You're watching the 6 o'clock news on Channel 3 with John Webb, Weather with McKenna, and Jaden House with Sports. This is Channel 3 News at 6.
Good evening, I'm John Webb. Next week, a documentary on Wallace will air at the 6th Street Melodrama. It was filmed last March, and the story is mainly focused on prostitution in Wallace. But what makes this documentary interesting is that Delaney Buffett, a filmmaker and also Jimmy Buffett's daughter, is the director of the film. Buffett saw an article of the Oasis Bordello in a tourism book, and she was intrigued about the history of prostitution in the small mining town.
And she was really interested in, doing a little feature on the Oasis, and didn't realize that we actually had a lot more going on in this town.
Buffett called the Wallace Chamber and they directed her to Heather Brandstetter, who previously wrote a book on prostitution. Selling Sex in the Silver Valley was a huge success, and Brandstetter said she couldn't believe how many copies she sold.
It's done it's done way better than I expected it to, actually. I didn't really know what to expect.
Last March, Brandstetter and Buffett began the process of interviewing several different people who were associated with the bordello. The 17-minute film features a maid who worked at the brothel, several citizens who lived there at the time, and current residents of Wallace.
It kind of just starts out and you're not exactly sure what's going on, unless you actually know the history of Wallace, and then the story kind of reveals itself.
It also gets very descriptive. One maid shares her encounter with Madam Ginger and another prostitute. Brandstetter said she tried to keep it unbiased. However, it was fairly difficult trying to find someone who didn't like having a brothel in town.
It was really hard for us to find anybody who had a very negative perspective, and so the person who we ended up kind of featuring has a more personal story that she tells about how the house has affected her life.
The film is rated mature, so it's not recommended for anyone under the age of 18. And you can catch the film on the 26th and 27th at 6:30 and another screening at 7:30. It'll be played at the Melodrama and it's free. However, they are asking for donations because all the proceeds will go back to the Melodrama. On Monday, ISP and Shoshone County 2 EMS responded to the 4th of July pass for a crash. According to Carrie Simmons, the Public Information Officer for District 2, a Ryder rental truck was traveling eastbound on I-90 when it tipped over on its side and slid into the guardrail. The crash happened near mile marker 30, and luckily nobody was injured at the time of the wreck. Kellogg STEIN'S announced that they're closing their doors today. According to their announcement, they made the difficult decision of closing the Kellogg market and consolidating their business with the Osborne location. They said, quote, "We truly appreciate your support over the many years the store has been in operation and hope you will continue to shop with us at our Osborne location." We reached out to the owners for an interview, but they declined. After a 2-day trial, a Shoshone County jury found Leonard Thomaskin Jr. guilty on 9 counts of an unlawful taking of 2 calf moose. Thomaskin killed the moose back in 2017 in the Clarkia area. The state of Idaho was represented by Deputy Prosecutor Benjamin Allen. Sentencing is scheduled for July 10th. McKenna is at Jean Day Park with her full weathercast. McKenna?
Today, we're outside of Jean Day Park, recommended by Heather Garatone. Looking at the Doppler radar, we're seeing showers in the Montana area and temperatures all around the region in the mid-40s and low 50s. The 7-day forecast is showing some signs of sun, but mostly cloudy throughout the week. Back to you, John.
Thank you, McKenna. This upcoming Saturday is the 2019 LEADMAN competition. The race will contain many recreational activities such as skiing, snowboarding, biking, and running. The race will start at the top of Kellogg Peak in Silver Mountain and finish at the bottom near the Gondola Village. The LEADMAN competition will start at 9 a.m. and end around 3 p.m. Let's toss it over to sports with Jaden House.
Thanks, John. The co-op baseball team, consisting of the Wallace Miners and the Kellogg Wildcats, had a doubleheader last Friday, April 12th, against Priest River. Priest River beat Kellogg in the first game 9-1, while Kellogg won the second game 9-8. They had yet another doubleheader against Timberlake on Tuesday, April 16th. This game was a bit rough for the Wildcats. Timberlake beat them in both games, with the first game ending with a score of 21-0 and the second game ending 10-0. The baseball team's next doubleheader will take place next week on Tuesday, April 23rd at home against Priest River. The first game kicks off at 3 p.m. with the second to follow at 5. That's a wrap on Sports Tonight. Reporting in the Channel 3 Sports Studio, I'm Jaden House.
In state news tonight, a U.S. post office in a small western Idaho town has been named after a National Baseball Hall of Fame slugger, Harmon Killebrew. Governor Brad Little and former U.S. Representative Raul Labrador took part in the ceremony Friday in Payette, about 60 miles northwest of Boise. Killebrew was born there in 1936. He played 14 seasons with the Minnesota Twins and for 7 before that with the Washington Senators. He hit 573 home runs, led the American League in the home runs 6 times, and played on 11 All-Star teams. Shortly after Killebrew's death in 2011 at age 74, Labrador introduced a bill in Congress to rename the post office. It was signed into law in December. In news that's not quite newsworthy, 3 women in Florida are behind bars after lounging au naturel at a rest stop and then leading Pasco County officers on a high-speed chase that ended when one of them tried to attack officers with a pink baseball bat. A witness reported seeing the women Wednesday morning in their birthday suits at a rest area off Interstate 75. A Florida Highway Patrol officer who responded to the call said that when she questioned the naked suspects, one of them said they had showered and were air drying. The women did get dressed before speaking to the state troopers, but they got into a white 2009 Nissan Sentra and drove away before the questioning had finished. Troopers tracked down the vehicle to a convenience store parking lot. One trooper tried to arrest one of the women when she left the store, but her colleague appeared to purposely drive the car at the officer. At the same time, another woman got out of the car with a pink baseball bat and tried to hit the officer. All 3 women now face charges of fleeing to elude police, 3 counts of resisting arrest, 2 counts of aggravated assault, and 3 counts of lewd behavior. And that's the 6 o'clock news for tonight. I'm John Webb. Dorsey Pearson will be with you next week. Until we speak again, have a great night.